Yep. Give me a nod when you're ready.
Like
Shooter's ready. Stand by.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Bullets and Bourbon. I'm joined here with my co-host Frank Gao and a very special guest, Daniel Jirasek. Now, for those who've been competing in three-gun for a long time, Daniel Jirasek is a known name. He has been a dominant figure in any match he shows up to, but aside from his accolades, he is a true representative of the sport. He's humble, friendly, helpful, and the kind of guy that you want to hang around and learn from. Before we go too further in, Dan, can you just go ahead and give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Well, hey, Matt, Frank, thanks for having me. I don't know who you were describing, but that guy sounds awesome. I've been shooting in three gun for about 11. Somewhere between 11 and 12 years, based out of Central Texas. Got started doing this when somebody invited me to a match and I'd never heard of it before and never seen it before. And I thought I was going to watch, and I showed up, and he started slapping a belt on me and putting guns in my hands and said, "Oh, no, you're going to shoot this thing." And I had no idea what I was doing. And stumbled my way through 5 stages at a monthly match at the old Best of the West range here in Texas, and that started me down a path that is taken a lot of time and focus and energy in my life in the last 11 or 12 years, because I really fallen in love with this sport, and just as much that the people that do it, the people I've met while I do it, and over the last 12 years, I've taken on a few other branches of that. The last 4 years, I've been involved with the tactical games, but I'm doing more, kind of back to more three gun right now. I think my biggest focus, aside from shooting, is mentoring and assisting new people coming into the sport. It's just a hard thing to do. It can be really intimidating and just logistically tough to get started in this sport. If somebody just stumbled on a YouTube video or a Facebook video and thought, "Man, it looks cool, I want to try that." And I've heard a lot of people over the years talk about ideas to grow the sport, but to date, I've yet to see anything that grows the sport more than saying,
Positive
"Hey,
interaction.
You're interested in this? Come with me. Put some time, personal time and energy into it. I got a rifle you can borrow. I got a shotgun you can borrow. Put these caddies on and assist and mentor and help somebody through their first match." And I think that's still the number one way to grow the sport, and is people putting some time and effort into people that are interested. And so that's really my focus these days, as much as shooting is.
Hell yeah. So, and I completely agree. Like, there's no better way of telling people, "Hey, there's this match going on. Like, you're already out here shooting with me. Let's go to this match together, and I will help coach you through the entire thing. I'll be there with you every step of the way." And at the end of it, they were like, "This is awesome. When's the next one?" It's like, "Hey, this is the next one. We're going to be there. Cool. Like, let me know what you need. Let me know how I can help." And it's that has almost become, or I will say that has become more fulfilling than just going to the match yourself and shooting.
100%. For me, at least.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's different person to person, but
yeah, no,
it absolutely is as fulfilling for me as going and shooting the match. So
yeah. And because it's not just they're not just getting it from one person at that point. They're seeing what everybody else in that community is like. And then you're like you said, your community just gets that much bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, think about over the time that you've been doing this, how many people have you, they see a t-shirt you're wearing or, whatever the case may be, and the conversation comes up and they say, what is that? And you say, oh, this is three gun. It's something I do. Maybe you show them a video and they go, oh, that looks cool. And, all right, well, have a good day. And that's as far as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
The people that you start that conversation with, but you're willing to put a little more time and energy into and say, hey, you know what? We have one coming up. Why don't you come out and watch? Just come check it out. You can, come join our group, walk with our squad. I'll introduce you to some other people. Or if they're ready, I got a gun. You bring ammo. We'll let you loan everything, borrow everything you need and shoot. Those are the people that are still shooting. And, over the last however many years, a lot of the people that we shoot with regularly and we see came into the sport that exact way. And that is, like I said, that is very rewarding and gratifying. And it is the only tried and true way I've seen to really grow the sport is people putting the time and effort in, because it is very intimidating and it is not easy to get into, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like I've never played golf. I'll go down to this course and rent clubs and give it a try.
Yeah,
it's there's a little more to it, and most people that see it and are interested will just never take that leap.
Yeah.
But if you get them through that first match, man, that's kind of the breakover point. And
well, it's one of the main reasons, like Frank and I have this podcast. Like, we want to be a source of information and introduce people to other sources of information. That way they hear it from multiple people. And like, the amount of people we have listening now that we don't even know about. Like, Frank and I were having a discussion with somebody yesterday. Like, I was prepping to do a stage for the Marine Corps marksmanship competition, and I hear Frank saying, hey, yeah, we run that podcast. Oh, you do? Yeah, we're Bullets and Bourbon. And I was just like, that's really cool. And he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm that old gunny that you hear on there all the time. And it kind of, it makes you feel good, because people who are getting interested in not just the Marine Corps matches, but three gun, USPSA, whatever action shooting sports they want to get into, this is another avenue of a source of information to where they can learn from, and then reach out and be like, hey, do you know anybody from this area that you can link me up with to go shooting? And it's just really cool.
Yeah. Now, we had probably some of the more enjoyable things that I've done with coaching or teaching are the intro classes that I've done. I've done some of those with my brother, Ben. And I've done some with other members of the Alpine range shooting team there in Fort Worth. The team got together a couple times and did these intro classes, and it wasn't something that was really hyped or advertised much. The range just kind of threw an ad up on their Facebook page, said, hey, we're doing an intro to three gun. If you're curious about three gun, show up on this day. And we had 23 people show up the first time. And talk about a very diverse group of people too. And just getting, allowing somebody to show up and ask questions and then help link them up. We'd pass out little flyers that had information to local clubs, local or Facebook pages where they could get information. And it's been a fantastic to see how many of those people that went to those events we end up seeing at a match a year and a half later. That's really cool, and that's still it's as rewarding to me, and I enjoy it as much going and spending a day doing that as I do going and spending a day shooting a match these days. So
yeah, no, I think Frank and I will both agree. Like, we love going out there and training people. Like, me and Frank this year, we were involved with the Penguin Pack. It's a shooting club training group that Carla Hertig started. And and so, she asked me and a few other friends if we could come out there and help. And like, I'm not gonna lie, we got burnt out by the end of the year, but we were running them every freaking month. Like every month we're out there training people. And we were training for tactical games, but then it was also, hey, we're going to be doing an intro to action shooting. We're going to do, put on stages that you would see at matches,
Mhm.
because we all know that TTG has some more action based stages now. So we were prepping them to be able to perform and perform well at those stages, and just give them an intro to that type of stuff.
Right.
Stuff that they would never really be exposed to, and that has led us to get them involved into more two-gun matches that Frank runs at Quantico Shooting Club.
So you brought something up there that brought a question to mind. How have you personally found the process of transitioning your training from a 3-gun style shooting to tactical game style shooting? Um,
So for me, the transition process hasn't changed whatsoever. And the only reason why I can say that is, for 2 miserable years, I was having to participate and compete and train for bullseye pistol matches.
oh,
So, uh,
exciting.
yes. So I mean, my training regimen, whenever I was doing bullseye, like from April until August, or April until like late June, July. No, it was mid-July. I was out on a range for 8 hours a day, shooting at 25 yards and 50 yards, one-handed, uh, 10 rounds at the 50-yard line, slow fire, 10 minutes. Like,
Mhm.
and what I'm describing is extreme fundamentals. So I really understood the mechanics of shooting a pistol really accurately, which then transitioned into being able to shoot rifle really accurately,
Right.
which just made me so much more aware of everything that I would be doing in an action match. And it just made me a more accurate and precise shooter, which equally translates over into TTG when, when your fundamentals have to be at its best, even when you're gassed, you know how
Mhm.
to settle yourself down to prepare and shoot for a stage like that.
Yeah. Well, man, it sounds like that background was really beneficial for you there.
Yeah.
All that bullseye paid off.
Yeah. Never going back to it again.
It was definitely a transition for me. The style shooting's very different, and
Yep.
I still. It seems like every TAC Games event I go to, my first event, my first stage, is my worst for my shooting, because I'm still trying to transition from action style shooting stuff, and I'll be on my trigger a little too hard on my pistol, and a little too fast with my rifle, and then I'll usually slow down by the second event on the first day. But it is a big transition, and I would have to spend really almost at least a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks before a TAC Games event at the range, specifically training for that style shooting, um, to keep that from being to keep that transition from being a lot longer and a lot more painful on the scores,
Hmm.
because it is really, really different,
Yeah.
really different. So
So you are not the first second responder that we've had on this show. We've had quite a few, from Matt Bergman to George Storber to Ian Norris. Um,
hey,
so
the
we,
only time I'm a second responder is when somebody's shooting at somebody. Okay, I'm
but
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I'm not the second responder when the homeless guy shit his pants. All right, that's when the cops are driving the other direction.
so
Oh,
so we've had quite a few firefighters on this podcast.
yeah.
And it seems like there's a lot of firefighters that are involved in the shooting sports. And you kind of hinted at why you got involved and everything. Somebody just said, "Hey, come out and do this." But what's really kind of kept you around for so long?
Well, man, combination. One, I'm just a very, very competitive person. I've always needed that drive. I'm not good at just sitting around the house. Um, I'm not good at at downtime or vacations. And give it, and I always had something that's sports related that I was doing, that I was competing in. Um, after I started working for the fire department, I was competing with the what they call the firefighter combat challenge, which is the firefighter obstacle course races that you might have seen, and that gave me something to work towards, gave me something to train for on my days off, and something to push for. But then I got injured and had my second knee surgery, and my ortho said you definitely need to let that go. And I was just, it was the perfect timing. I was looking for something. Like I said, I just need something in my life that I can be pushing towards, and the little bit of free time that I might get, something to train for, to strive towards, and I get depressed if I don't have it. I mean, I really will it'll bring me down. And so I was in between. I had just rehabbed from that knee surgery, and a gentleman at the fire department, his name was Mark Selby, Captain Mark Selby. It's old gruff captain that all of us younger guys were terrified of. Had done different types of shooting sports, and he invited me out. And so the reason I've stayed with it so long is I love the competition. I've never gotten tired or bored of the competition. I think that how dynamic three gun is, how many different aspects of it are. You've got three guns to master. You've got different styles and types of shooting for each gun to master, and it's just so hard to master every aspect of this sport. And then you have the mental aspect, which is half of it. And it's so hard to really say that you've mastered all of it. Every match I go to, I learn something new. I find something new. Oh man, I really need to work on that. I need to improve on this. And so I think that drive, that competitive nature in myself, and this need to find something in myself to improve upon, makes me a perfect pairing for this sport. There's always something that I need to work on, always something I need to challenge myself with. And so that's a big part of it, is I never get bored with it. I never get tired of it, because it's always hard. It's always a challenge. And I'm always finding the area in myself that is lacking, that I need to improve on. And then the other half of why I'm, what is giving me longevity in the sport, the people, man, the people are amazing. Really, some of my best friends, on this planet are people that I met shooting, that I shoot with regularly, that I look forward to seeing all year at the one match that we shoot together, maybe. And there's just, you don't go to any place, any event, any time, and get a concentration of phenomenal people like you get at any three gun match in the country any day of the year. And so those two things right there, that's really what's kept me going in this sport, kept me motivated and driven, and not slowing down yet. So there you go.
Oh yeah. Now, kind of switching it and continuing the conversation in that, you like you stated, you've been competing for 12 years, 13 years, a long time. And for many of those years, you've been at the very top. How do you balance your time with family, a full-time job, and staying consistently at the top? Like, what does that balance look like?
Well, if to lay it out pretty as simply as I can, I don't do anything else, Matt. If I'm not at work, I'm not actively at a three gun match at the range for 2 hours practicing, then I'm at home doing something with the family. And I found ways, I also am able to spend time with my kids at the range. My kids go shoot with me. Typically just the smaller monthly matches, but that's been changing here lately. My daughter, Serenity, who's 15, this year has started up in her level of competition a little bit, so I can spend some family time while shooting and while doing the thing I love. But really and truly, I've just made sacrifices, and that's what it comes down to. And that's probably, the part of it that keeps some people from pursuing it to the level that I have, that a certain amount of guys at the top have, is, I don't go do Monday Night Football with the guys at Buffalo Wild Wings, right? I don't go on the camping trip with the fellas. I don't go fishing. I don't go golfing. It's very few and far between for me to go do those additional things where people go relax and de-stress and hang out with buddies. I just don't do a lot of it, man. And I don't need to. I get it. I get all of that I need when I go to the range for 2-3 hours by myself or with my brother to train. That's all the de-stressing in the world I need. And then when we go spend a 3 or 4 day weekend, like we just did for the Vortex shootout here in Texas, we took the campers. We had a group of 6 guys that are all fantastic people, and we hung out. We shot together. We lived together. We barbecued together. We sat around drinking bourbon and telling stories together. And that's my social time. And so I have made sacrifices in other areas to be able to spend the time that I do at the ranges, at the matches, shooting, and I've tried to incorporate my family as much as I can with that. And that's really the gist of it. But it is a balancing act, because your family's got to be number one. If it's not, then it's not going to last very long. And I've had my share of relationship problems, like we all have. And so I'm not an expert by any means, and I've learned many lessons the hard way and failed more times than I've succeeded. But I've tried to make sure that I make good decisions with my time away and spend as much time with the family as I can when I'm not doing that. That's really all it comes down to.
Yeah. No, I am now trying to balance a lot of that. Just like you described, like for the last 5 years, well, before I retired, it was my job for 4.5 to 5 years, being in the Marine Corps on the shooting team. Before that, I did it as a hobby, and I treated it like a hobby. Once a month, I'd get together with the guys, sometimes twice a month, and we would go out, shoot local matches. Whenever I got to the team, it became a job. And, one of my last commanding officers kind of described it perfectly whenever we were at a promotion ceremony for a friend. He's like, the Marine Corps is going to want it, and then want its time, and your family's going to want its time as well. So 51% goes to the family, and 50% goes to the Marine Corps, but you always want to play the balancing act of, 51% of the time goes to the Marine Corps if it's in the Marine Corps' eyes, and then 49% goes to your family, and then vice versa. And you always keep one guessing of who's getting more of the priority. And so It's like, it was always balancing, like, work is work, 3-gun is work right now. And right now it's like, okay, my family, they're not necessarily second, but it's like that, it's balancing it and letting them know that they're still a priority. And so now that I'm out, it's like, I'm not competing nearly as much as I was, and I'm prioritizing family before, fun, or family before competitions. And it's been a hard struggle at times. It really has. And, it's those conversations of, you're doing a lot of things that, it seems like you're just being very selfish. And, there are times where she's absolutely right. I was prioritizing time with friends and outside of the house, and not giving the family the recognition that they deserve. And it's having to dial that back in order to give them that time, because you don't want to be going to a match with that type of stress on you, knowing that, am I going to be able to actually go out here and have fun, knowing that the family's upset with me?
Yeah. And the answer is usually no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's exactly the struggle. And, couple things that have helped me is some very direct communication with my wonderful wife, who's very, very supportive of me doing this. Um, you know, I've I've asked her, and we've had several conversations about her being very, very honest with me. I don't want to hear what you think I want to hear. I want you to tell me the truth. And I discuss any, potential matches and timing with her. And I'll say, hey, I'm looking at doing this match next year in June. It's the end of June and there's a match at the beginning of August. There's only 2 weeks in between them. What do you think about that? And I run that stuff by her. And honestly, if she goes, well, that's whatever, that's, basketball season, or that's, whatever. Our son has something going on and that might be a little tight. I scratch it. That's it. That's all it takes. I'll find another one. There are a lot of matches.
Mm-hmm.
And so that communication and being willing to, a lot of sometimes these are matches that sponsors have asked me to go to, or matches that, I might have a sponsor slot to go to. Don't care. Ain't gonna, it's just the priority's got to be there. And so, that communication and working together on the scheduling is a big thing. And the other thing, man, is letting her go do whatever she wants to go do.
Yeah.
If she wants to go on a ladies trip and they want to, fly out to whatever, Oregon and go do wine samplings for a week, you better believe I'm throwing the credit card down, or I'm saying, hey, no worries, you got this. I'll take care of the kids that week. Go book your flight. Because it's got to be, it's got to be two-sided.
Yeah.
And so just that communication, and then making sure I'm as trying to be as understanding and accommodating and encouraging for her to do her things that she wants to do as she's been with me. And that seems to be a good combination for us.
No, that's great to hear, and it's good to hear from, for me as well, just because it's other tools that I could put down and and put into place and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And I do talk to her about what matches I want to go to, and she knows more or less. And I tell her months in advance, hey, I have this, and this that I want to do. She puts it on the schedule. That way, whenever it comes up to that, it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Because I have been known to forget to tell her about things, and then it's the weekend prior. I thought I told you I'm going to this, and she's like, anytime you tell me you're doing something, I put it on the calendar. It's like, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think all husbands can be repeat offenders on that. And that's something that I've had to really work on. And that communication aspect is with the calendar. We have a shared calendar, and if the second I learn the dates of a match that I'm even thinking about going to, I will put that thing on the joint calendar. It'll be 8 months away, and I try and keep that updated as much as possible, and that helps her. And that's a little thing that I didn't used to do, that I started doing a couple of years ago. That's made things a lot better and easier for her. And like you said, man, it's a balancing act.
Yeah. Kind of going more into the training aspect. You do spend a lot of time on the range. And I don't know if you've dialed it back over the years, but how do you spend your time training? When I was training every single day. I had all the ammo to blow. It really didn't matter. And I always had some type of a structured plan, but I've noticed more now that I am out and I'm having to provide my own ammo and my own money and everything. I've become really skilled at coming up with detailed training plans. So I go to the range with the plan, or if I know I can't get to a range for a while, I'm going to be spending more time dry firing before a match. How do you spend your time training? How has it evolved over time? And do you spend more time dry firing now compared to before? Or do you still spend equal parts dry fire and live fire?
So a lot of there's a couple different aspects on that question. I'll try and make sure I get to all of them, but if I forget one, you'll have to remind me. So as far as how it's it's evolved. The having a place, I'm lucky enough to have a place where I go do live fire training. I can go train, have a range. I used to do. There's been more times or times when I put a lot more time in. 4, 5, 6 years ago, and really it's come down to what I have available. And there were years when I was a lot more likely to maybe win my division or take second in my division or third. And then there are years when I'm going to be really happy and content to be third or fourth or fifth. And that is a direct correlation with how much time I have to get to the range that year. I mean, it is, there's no denying that correlation, but I started with my training thinking that, and this is going quite a ways back. We'll walk it back a little bit with this evolution, thinking that the way I needed to train at the range, live fire, was to set up like small little mini versions of a stage, right, with gun transitions and 2 and 3 guns at a time, and kind of progress through, 8 shotgun shots and 6 or 7 or 8 pistol shots, and mix paper and steel, and then go to rifle. And I've completely pulled back from that. I do very, very, very little of that at this point. If I go to the range, because I really don't have a lot of time to do this because of what we just talked about, right? Balancing it with the family. So if I'm going to be real honest, recorded on tape here, if I have a big match coming up, on average, I will go to the range twice for about 3 hours before that match. And that's all I got. And I mean, like, maybe the week before and then the week of, and then we leave Wednesday night or Wednesday. And that's really it, man. So when you talk about having a very limited amount of, limited in ammo and time, I have found what works for me in terms of low round count, very specific drills, just pistol, just rifle, and just shotgun. And occasionally I'll blend a little shotgun pistol, but it's very rare now. And I will run those drills, and it's try and load things before we get to the range, show up, maximize the time. And so it may be a 4 to 6 shot pistol drill with movement, and that's it. And I will run through those same drills, but being also very specific with what I'm doing. So is that dog too loud?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Got a visitor. So learning to take what used to take me 3 hours at the range to do and do it in 30 minutes is really what it came down to. And that was eliminating a lot of the fluff. A lot of the training we do, unfortunately, is really not providing any rewards or any payback at all. And I can't say that it would be the same for everybody. I really think different people struggle with different things. Once you kind of have the basic fundamentals down.
Sorry about the world's most annoying dog.
No, you're good. No problem. Once you kind of get those fundamentals down, it seems like each person has specific things that they struggle holding on to, right? Maybe when you're rusty, you tend to really drop your quad loads, right? Maybe when you're rusty, your timing with your rifle shots is off. Maybe when you're really rusty, you tend to target focus and you struggle keeping your eye on your front side of your pistol, right? Maybe you start slapping your trigger, right? Whatever it is. Maybe every time you come out of the holster or do a mag change, you don't grip your pistol right. Like, everybody's got a couple things that they specifically struggle with. And when I kind of was able to narrow that down and say, these are the things that hurt me. These are the things that I consistently screw up when I go to a match and I haven't practiced a lot. I don't have time to do all the other things. So I'm just going to focus on those 2 or 3 things. And I noticed that my performance at the matches, there was very, very little change, right? There is change, and you can't deny that, because, like I said, that's the difference between first and third, or, first and fourth, right? But for somebody that's got a family and limited ammo and limited time, you gotta find those things that you can practice for 30 minutes and get a good net reward when you go to the range. And that's different for everybody. But I found those things, and for myself, for my brother, we go to the range a lot, train together, and we focus on those things when we go to the range. And I can go to we may go. It may be like 3 hours from when we arrive until we leave, maybe more like 2, honestly. And I may shoot 100 rounds of pistol, and I may shoot 50 rounds of rifle, maybe 40. That's it. Practice is over, and we go home. And so I really get a lot less practice than I used to, but by finding what I struggle with and focusing on that, I've been able to still keep good performance and be competitive and do well with a lot less time at the range than what I used to have. So that's really the evolution of it, is finding what can I get a 10% increase in versus a 1% increase in, and I got to eliminate that other stuff because I just don't have the time to do it anymore.
So I gotta ask, because I thought it was kind of comical, and whenever you posted it, the last time I saw you went to the range, you went to go zero your guns, and you got all the steel and everything set up to do some long range shooting, and then you get up to your shooting area, and then there's a cow right there in the impact zone.
Yeah, cow ass, literally, just the cow's ass, literally in front of the target. And Matt, that cow, if you watch cow, they tend to move when they're eating.
Yes.
That cow stood there for 20 minutes and did not take a step. The only movement he made was to look over his shoulder back at us up on the hill and then keep eating. Yeah, that's kind of been the constant struggle. And we've had the land we've shot on the last 2 times, so for the last about 5 years, has had cows, and we've had to work around that, and it just is what it is. But yeah, if I actually have electric, I have to have electric fence up around our little shooting area, because they will go in and knock every target over and destroy everything. But yeah, I was tempted to just say I could buy a big deep freeze and we could have meat for 2 years.
That's a good investment right there.
Yeah. We had to drive all the way down and chase that cow off, and drive all the way back up 600 yards before we got any shooting done.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kind of taking it back to family, and I asked this because, like, recently I got my daughter. My daughter came up to me and she was like, "Dad, can you buy me a rifle I can actually learn how to shoot?" And my response to her was, "Well, honey, I already have a rifle you can learn how to shoot. I have a 22 a CZ457 22. It has bipods, everything. I can take you out to the range this weekend. I can just teach you how to shoot." And I almost reached out to you then, just to kind of get your tips. I was like, you know what, let me just do this blind, and I was like, I have to be very formulated about the approach I take with her, because it's something new with her. It's the first time she's ever expressed any interest whatsoever in doing something that I enjoyed. And I just wanted to make it something that she had fun with, that it was like that daddy-daughter time, and that she would want to keep coming back to. So I needed to do it in such a way to where she didn't feel stressed. She's only 9 years old. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go into like every little rule and, thing like that. I'm going to just set it up to where she can't move the rifle. She just operates off the bipods. I can show her where the safety is, teach her how to press the trigger, have targets out there, and just kind of, once I get her comfortable looking through the scope and doing all that stuff, then she can move around to different targets, and then, gain her own confidence in doing that. And I think that, I think she had a really good time. She wants to go back out there and do it. I had last night I was doing some dry fire in the garage, and I had the pistol with me, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to hold the pistol and learn how to hold it and press the trigger?" And she's like, "Okay." And we started doing a little dry fire session together, and I thought it was really fun and really cool.
Yeah.
So you said earlier that you take your daughter to the range and that you actually started competing with her. And I know you guys went and did like a running gun and stuff like that. But how has that progressed with your daughter, and what type of approach did you take with her? And did your daughter express interest first, or did you ask them if they wanted to try it out?
That's a good question. So with my kids, the one thing I've done when it comes to shooting, and this is kind of my mentality with all the sports, is if they want to do it, I provide the time and ability and opportunity, and I try and make it as fun and appealing as possible. But I've never pushed them, and that's just kind of the way That's actually kind of how I deal with everything. There's sports and all. You want to do it, that's great. If you commit to do it, you're going to see it through and you're going to follow it through. But I don't push them. I've always, with both of them, I say, "Hey, do you want to go do this? You want to go check this out this Saturday? Do you want to go do this with me?" If they go, not really. Okay, no problem. No worries. Daddy ain't going to be upset. We'll try it again another time. And then when they do express interest and they do say, "Yeah, you know what, let's go try and do it," then I just try and make it as fun as possible. Because pushing them, it's already kind of a high stress thing for kids, new shooters, anybody.
Mhm.
And so if they feel pressured at all, it's just like a new shooter. If they feel pressured at all, they're just going to pull away, and you're going to lose them, and they're not going to come back. And so I just tried to put no pressure on them with it. And, Serenity's 15. She shot with me. She started shooting me just 22. She'd go to the local steel challenge match or pistol match, and they would let her shoot 22 rifle. We started doing that when she was probably 9 years old. And she wanted to do that, and sometimes she didn't. And I just let her make that decision. And then she got busy with school and life, and she backed off for a while. And then back at the very beginning of this year, she said, "Hey, I kind of want to try this again, but I want to start doing it with the real guns. I don't want to shoot 22 anymore. I want to shoot a 9mm. I want to shoot a 223. What can we go do?" And we looked at different options. And so I've let them dictate that. I haven't pressured them. That's number one. I felt, and I've had really good success with that for me. But then also, I treat them the same that I do with new shooters, people that are new to shooting. Is when we take them to the range, the first few times, I try and set them up where it's impossible for them to fail, right? And it doesn't matter if you're 50 years old. If you're a new shooter and you're new to shooting and you're going to the range with me, the first couple times I'm going to set it up where you cannot fail. And I feel like that's your responsibility, right? So the guns, whatever guns we're operating with, I may have a table set up and the guns stay on the table. They never leave the table. You pick them up from behind the table, you shoot over the table, you set them on the table, right? It makes it so simple for them. They're not stressed about, am I going to forget to put the safety on when I'm moving, left or right or wherever? Am I going to forget to unload it? Am I going to do it? It doesn't matter. Just set it on the table. It's always pointing at the targets, right? And then second, I do what I can to build their confidence, which means, honestly, we're looking at, setting them up with targets they can't miss.
Mhm.
Right. And same with my kids. When we first started going out, we had, they're shooting first time they're shooting a 22 pistol, they're shooting at a target the size of a car door at 10 yards. Right. I don't care how good they are. And I'm not trying to teach them fundamentals and accuracy and high level stuff. I just want them to see that this is doable, that, hey, I can do this. Let them build some confidence with it. They're hitting that steel. They don't care where they're hitting the steel at that point. And it allows that anxiety and that kind of stress of it to dissolve, go away. They build some confidence with it. They had fun. They hit the target. They don't care that it's huge. And then they come back again. And that has been very successful for me with teaching grown adults that are new and little kids that are new. And it's just setting them in, put them in a situation, a circumstance where they can't fail, where if they fail, it's on me. And then if they like it, if they want to come back, then you can start progressing and, and making things a little more challenging and adding a little bit at a time. It's really just patience. And I think a lot of people will absolutely end someone's desire to learn how to shoot or learn anything about shooting by taking them to the range and not doing that. Putting them in a situation where they scare themselves or they're just overly anxious, because people that are new, they're scared of it. It's a gun. What is everybody in society telling them? It's dangerous and it's loud and it goes bang and they're scared of it. And that anxiety will drive people to not come back to the range ever again. If you put them in a situation where they're scared of themselves. So that's kind of how I've treated that with the kids. And how I introduced them to shooting was make it easy, make it simple, make it where they can't make a mistake, and let them have fun, and then let them decide when they go. And it's panned out. My daughter, I don't believe, has ever felt pressured to go do this with daddy, which means when she chooses to do it, it's fun. Mm-hmm. And that's been big. That's been a big thing for us, and we've enjoyed it. This year, she said she wanted to try something different. She wanted to shoot with me more, but she wasn't sure she wanted to do 3-gun. And so we tried a running gun, which I've only done a couple in the past. And man, that was something else, dude. That was the whole process was, as a dad, you're just dying for opportunities to spend time with your kid doing something that you like or that you understand, right? And also an opportunity to teach them some basic skills. And that was a big part of it. So we had to figure out how, because she's like 90 pounds. She's tall, but she's little. And she runs cross country. She runs track. She can run all day, but she's little. And I'm trying to figure out, how can I get this girl to carry a rifle, a pistol, 300 rounds of ammo, 4 pistol mags, 4 rifle mags, and carry it 5+ miles and it not be uncomfortable and painful and her never going to want to do this again. So we got to spend time together building her a rig I actually got the idea from a shooter in Missouri when we were shooting Gen 3 last year. And he has a boy that they built a rig for him to do running guns, and they showed me pictures of it and basically took my hunting rig, stripped it all down, mounted a scabbard on the back for the rifle, mounted a holster and everything on the big padded belt that was nice and comfortable for her, and rigged it up where she wore that the whole time and carried everything in it. And she was comfortable the whole time. She could access her rifle. She could get to everything. And we got to go to the range and train together, learn how to shoot long range and do all this kind of stuff. And that was all such fantastic quality time. Honestly, if the day of the match she'd have said, "Hey, I don't want to do this," and backed out, I'd have still been happy because we got to spend, like 2-3 hours over the course of 4 or 5 different days, each day, just spending time together, man. And we're all looking for something that our kids want to do with us. Otherwise, for the most part, they think everything we're doing is boring and stupid. But she actually, I'll brag on her. We did the running gun. She ran it in the time significantly faster than my old ass. She won one of the shooting stages. She's in a division with there was only, that I could see, maybe 3 women there. She was the only one that was a minor. She was the only woman in her division. And she won one of the shooting stages. She crushed the run time. And she was either first or second in her division. It's the first time she'd ever shot a 9mm pistol or .223 rifle in competition. So she killed it. I was so proud of her. Just super, super proud of her. And we're signed up to do some more running guns in the future. And man, it's a lot of work, but I tell you what, if your kids do show interest in that and you foster that interest and put a little time into it, it's hard to beat, man. It's hard to beat going and doing something you love and getting to do it with your kids. And it's great lessons. It's great lessons for kids. We got a generation of kids that never feel any discomfort, pain, never have to push through their body saying, "This sucks, let's stop. Let's sit down and eat a Snickers or play Fortnite." And just given the opportunity to get my kids in a situation where they experience some of that, that's valuable too.
Yep.
So anyway, I went on a bit of a tangent there. I apologize.
No, that's a lot of really good information. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's good advice that extends to more than just getting your kids or new shooters into stuff. It's yeah, there's a difference between I have to do something and I get to do something. And everything you just described, Dan, I think goes into like convincing some or just making it so that someone is actually excited and has a personal investment. That aside, want to talk more about matches. You primarily compete in your region, but you did say that once a year you like to try a new major. And this year that was Memorial. So Memorial is one of the OG matches. A lot of people talk about it. What were some of your impressions of the match before you even attended it?
Oh, I don't know that I had a lot of impressions before I attended it. Other than just hearing people say, "Hey, it's a good match, it's a fun match," and seeing a few videos, it looked like a cool facility, and it looked like fun stages, and I think that's probably as far as I took it. I think that's about it. I didn't have a lot of preconceived ideas.
Okay, so walking into it, I mean, you shot a lot in your area, based on the range layout at Griffin Group, which is fantastic, and the actual stages of the match, and also the whole meaning of the match. How was that? How has it set itself apart from all the other match experiences that you've had?
Well, the fact that they have a purpose and a meaning behind this, the time they put into bringing awareness to the stories of some of our heroes of this nation, and the way that we would stop before every stage and hear about one of these individuals and take time to think about that. Man, that was fantastic. I wish we had more of that, not just in the shooting community, but just in general. It was phenomenal. There was several of those times when I felt myself getting a little emotional, honestly. These were firsthand accounts. These are words written by the family members, in some cases. And then also the fact that they bring the families out there. That was amazing. That was fantastic. So I absolutely loved what they're doing with the match. It's not just let's come shoot and let's have fun. The memorial aspect of it was fantastic. I thought they did a good job with that. I can't say enough good about that. That was fantastic. And, it was a good reminder of what's taken place, to allow us to spend free time and free money that we have, in this nation where the poorest people are still in the richest 1% of the world, and own this firearm and go to a range and spend the whole weekend shooting just for the fun of it. And the people that have made a lot of sacrifices, so we have that freedom and that ability. So that was fantastic. I could go on and on about it, but I know you want to hear more about the rest of the match. The stages were a lot of fun. They're not the hardest stages I've ever shot, but there's really different styles of matches. And for what this was, the stages were very consistent. There was only a couple stages that really varied much in terms of like what the winning times were. But the stages were challenging. We had some option stages that were pretty challenging. Then you had just the straightforward jungle run type stages. There was some creativity in there. And I thoroughly enjoyed shooting the stages. There was some challenging stuff in there. They were not overly simple stages. And one thing I thought that they really did really well was the downtime activities, the side stages, the shootout, all of that, man. I had as much fun on, I think it was Saturday where we shot in the AM. And so it was Saturday afternoon was our free time. And we stayed at the range till like 6 p.m. and had a blast, shooting the side stages, seeing all the vendors. They just had so much to do. Fantastic food trucks. Typically at most matches, if you're not shooting the stages, It's hey, let's get the heck out of here and go do something fun. And they really had a lot extra going on, and man, I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yeah, every time. So we actually had a lot of the staff from Memorial on. I think that's probably a year ago, Matt. And you know, a lot of it, you know, people love that match for the shooting, but also as an event that's dedicated to a sort of communal remembrance, and honoring fallen heroes.
Right.
That's what everyone ends up talking about. The people that run the event, the Marine Corps shooting team guys that went there, like, you know, got down to this last event. But skipping forward, so you like to shoot one new match per year. And you've already mentioned that Duskin is in your crosshairs, so to speak.
Mhm.
That's the other large memorial match. But it's got a different flavor. And we talked a little bit about tactical games before we started recording. And you enjoy that kind of match. So I think you're really going to enjoy Duskin because it is really, really physical. Is that the match that you're looking forward to the most next year?
Well, I think that it's in terms of a new match that I have not had the opportunity to shoot. That's one that's been in my crosshairs for a long time, and I am very excited at the opportunity, the opportunity to be able to shoot it. Being that I've you know, that's going to be an invite match for me, and but the physicality, man, is really the type of matches I've been drawn to and loved the most over the years. That's really right up my alley. You know, we before it went away, we did not miss a year at Blue Ridge, and love that style match. When the hard as hell matches were going, we shot as many of those as we can. You know, we got to do Rock Hard at Rock Castle. We did the Hard as Hell Texas, and we used to never miss the old Blue Line 3-gun there in Missouri at the Lucas Oil Ranch. And that kind of very physical match, long stages, a lot of physical challenges, man, that really calls to me. I really enjoy those, and a lot more than I do, you know, the shorter, faster base style shooting. And which is probably why I took to the tactical games. And, you know, I do really enjoy that as well. It's a very, very different style shooting. But you know, still, I think the physical challenge adds something to it for me, kind of rounds it out. And I am very excited to hopefully give Duskin a try next year, and see if it, you know, lives up to all the hype, and it typically does in 3-gun, because 3-gunners don't BS. If a match sucks, 3-gunners say that match sucked. And when everybody's telling you got to make this match, it's amazing, then that's typically the case.
Yeah, speaking from personal experience, Matt got me into this year's. It was a lot of fun. I made the mistake of shooting it on a Saturday and then driving back up to Virginia and shooting a USPSA major the next day. And Duskin had completely just destroyed me that weekend.
Yeah,
but it was a good time, man. Like, shoot houses, really well designed stages, and yeah, they're gonna gut check you with some of those physical challenges. I want to take a second and talk about your sponsors. I definitely want you to, like, tell us about your sponsors and, you know, the ways in which they've helped you further your shooting career. But also for, you know, it seems like a lot of shooters are constantly seeking sponsorship. I don't think they quite understand what that entails or the level of commitment required to make it a two-way transaction, an actual relationship. So could you talk to us, one, just about the companies that you have established relationships with, but also for someone looking to start some of those relationships themselves, how would they even begin?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that is something that I see a lot in shooters that are kind of past that new shooter phase, and they're moving towards a more experienced shooter. They're doing a little bit better, and it seems to be like this golden ticket. I don't know. For some people, it's a financial thing. For some people, I think it's a status thing, that they want that sponsorship so bad. And my biggest advice is slow your roll, slow down, make sure that you have something to provide to a company, so that by the time you actually are going to enter into a sponsorship agreement with somebody, you're actually going to get something that's actually a sponsorship. Because if to be affiliated with this company, you have to buy something that you didn't really need, and you're getting it at a discount. I hate to break it to you, that's not a sponsorship. That's and a lot of guys will jump at anything that hints at sponsorship, and a lot of them try and jump in just too soon. But sponsorship is not just shooting a match with somebody's name on your jersey. And quite frankly, the name on the jersey is the least important part of the whole thing. I could probably wear a T-shirt to every match, a T-shirt with a picture of Chewbacca on the front, and I can promise you none of my sponsors are going to freaking care, because they know that's not where I'm personally adding value back to their company. There's a lot more to it. This is a part-time job, and you have to provide something to that company if you expect them to provide something to you. It's not a free handout. This is not you got 10th in your division, congrats, here's free stuff. That's not how that works. You have to. So for one, don't take a sponsorship with a company you don't believe in, that you're not really excited about. I learned this lesson the hard way, guys. I'm not the guru here. I learned it the hard way. If you take a sponsorship or talk to a company about sponsorship and you don't believe in that product, and it's not the absolute product you would choose for yourself to shoot, if you had $1 million in the bank and you could, you were going to choose whatever you wanted to provide you the best performance. If that's not what you would be shooting, don't take it. Don't do it. Because if you don't really believe in that product, then A, it's going to hold you back. It's going to hurt you. I've been there. I know. And B, you're not going to have the motivation and the desire to provide the feedback on that product and to share that product with other people the way the company is wanting you to. So let somebody else who really believes in that product be their brand ambassador, whatever it is, and slow down and find a company that's a good match for you. And unfortunately, I learned this, the hard way after being going down the wrong road a couple times. But I have been very lucky and blessed to be associated with some companies. And once I did learn that lesson, I realized less is more. And what I wanted and have been lucky enough to find is relationships with a few companies that are products that I actually believe in, that I would choose to use, that I'm going to continue using, that get me excited when somebody goes, hey, what is that in that holster? I get a half chub when I have the opportunity to tell them about what's in that holster, or tell them about the reticle in that scope, or talk about this long range ammo, because I actually freaking love this stuff, because it's actually helping me. It's actually providing me a good product. It's helping me do well at the match. And if you don't feel that way about it, you shouldn't be representing it. And hands down, because you're not going to do a good job. And that takes time. So we at the beginning of the show, we talked about it. I think I've been doing this around 12 years now. And, about 2 years ago is where I really finally settled into a few companies that this is right for me. This is where I should be. This is where I'm going to stay. And as long as I'm allowed to. And, so it takes time. And I think too many people are rushing into it. And you shouldn't be thinking about what company you can get a sponsorship for a 25% off discount code. You should be thinking about going to the range and practicing. And probably the biggest part of this that people don't understand, if you're not a people person, if you don't like to talk to people, if you're not willing to take time aside during your 20 minutes, but in between stages, to go walk over to somebody's car and take a look at their whatever that has just broke or malfunctioned or whatever it is, or if they just come up and ask you a question, if you're not 100% happy to take time to do that, and this might very well be time that you should be memorizing long distances for the next stage, or walking the next stage, or whatever the case is, if you're not willing to do that and take time and talk to a complete stranger, you don't need to be a brand ambassador, period. Because you can be the best shooter out there that's finishing first in your division every match. If you don't have the personality and the patience and the aptitude to go talk to people, you're not doing any good, because nobody wants to buy something just because an asshole got first with it, period. That's not how it works. So there is there's an aspect of it with the social media that I know a lot of companies are big on, and And I know that to a degree, you know, clicks matter, but in this very small niche community in sport, person to person relationships and communication is what matters more. And so, you know, I got some strong feelings on this, and that's where it is. Don't waste your time, guys. Don't waste your time until it's the company that you believe in, until it's the product you want to use. And until you are the kind of person that's going to actually provide value for them, just stay out of it. Just don't even mess with it.
Yeah, really well said, Dan. I do have a couple of follow-up questions for you. So in most cases where you ended up becoming sponsored by a company, you already own the product. You already use the product before you establish that relationship. Okay, so that's one thing. And just, I guess, not so much a question, but just something to add. You said don't enter relationships with brands that you aren't like truly excited about. Would you say that extends to like if a brand or a company doesn't give you top tier customer service, that's not going to get any better once you enter a sponsorship with them necessarily, right?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, the sponsored shooter is the lowest priority with any relationship with any company there is. Even the best companies out there with the best, you know, customer service, I can promise you, as a sponsored shooter, you're going to be the last one to get that new product that just hit the shelves, and you're going to be the lowest priority. That's just the way it is. And you know, the companies I work with are honestly the best at this. And what you asked for the vast majority, every company that I'm working with, it was either a product that I was already using, or is a product that I was very, very familiar with. And most of them fall into the first category. But I can tell you this, once I kind of finally got my head in the right place in regards to sponsorship, the way I would approach this is if I talked to a company and they wanted me to take a look at their product or use their product and I wasn't already using it. My answer is this: you send me what you got. Send me your shotgun caddies or your rifle or whatever. I'm going to put it through the ringer. I'm going to use the hell out of it. I'll document when I'm using it. I'm going to test it. I'm going to beat it up. I will not use it in a match, but I will test the hell of it at the range. It might take me 2 months. If I think it's going to hold me back at all, if it's not exactly what I want to use, I'm going to mail it back to you. And I'm not going to tell anybody that this ever happened. There's no slamming your product. You know, hey guys, I tried this out. It wasn't up to par. I'm going to mail it back to you with very little exception. Nobody's going to even know that this happened. And we'll cordially go about our separate ways. I'll say, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm not going to use your product. And part of that is I will give you feedback. I'll tell you why. And if that helps you improve your product, great. If you tell me go screw myself, that's fine too. I don't care. And Frank, I've received and tested and sent back quite a few products. Mm-hmm. and it's been a successful method because it allows a company to get some feedback on their product. It allows them to not worry about negative media or negative press. And the times that I have done that, it's worked really well. And there's been a couple of times I wished I had gone about it that way. But I encourage people to use that. If a company says, "Hey, we want you to try this out," you know, tell them, "Okay, I'll try it out," but I'm not making any like promises or guarantees. If I feel like this is not going to give me the exact performance I need, don't take the sponsorship. Send it back. Be polite about it. Don't blast them out on social media, and give them the opportunity to find a person that is the right fit for their company.
So I do have a quick follow-up. You've talked about, you know, importance of sponsorships, how to go about sponsorships, and that you've made mistakes throughout your years as a competitive shooter, getting sponsorships, and you know, over time you've matured and drawn it down to a very short list. Who are you representing now?
I am glad you asked. So right now, my sponsor, the companies that I'm lucky enough to work with, are Hayes Custom Guns, which I think everybody in the three gun community is familiar with.
Yep.
I run their pistols. I have two of their sight tracker custom 2011 pistols, and I've got a Cobra on order, and it might or might not have the option for a red dot, but I'm still tag ops for life, so don't you guys worry about that. And I also use the Hayes modified M2, Benelli M2 shotgun. My rifle that I shoot is made by American Defense. The mounts that have held my scopes on my rifle for a long time were made by American Defense, and I can't ask for a better company to work for in that regard. Thomas is fantastic, and I'm very, very happy to represent them. They don't make anything that's even middle of the road. Everything they make is top quality. They also are heavily involved in sponsorship in three gun, which is a big thing for me. I shoot for Vortex Optics, and just could not be happier about that. Everybody knows the quality of Vortex, the customer service of Vortex, and how much they put into the shooting sports is absolutely mind-boggling. I have a hard time finding a match that isn't supported by Vortex in some way, shape, or form. I receive help from Red Stitch targets, and every single target pretty much that I train on is made by Darren. I'm sure he's probably in his welding shop right now, catching his beard on fire and drinking bourbon, and I
Yes.
hope he's having a good time. Hey, Darren,
Yes.
I miss you, man. You got to come back out to Texas sometime. But yeah, you can't find better. It's hard to find better quality than what he puts into his targets. I recently have swapped my caddies. I used the same shotgun caddies for a long time, and they finally talked me into upgrading, and I'm using the King competition caddies now, which I didn't think I could like a caddy more than my old ones, but these are pretty phenomenal. I like them a lot. And aside from that, I also work with Alpine Shooting Range in Fort Worth, and through them, I have a little arrangement with Fiocchi USA Ammunition, and shoot all of their bird shot, slugs, buckshot. All my shotgun ammo is through Fiocchi, and that's it. That's where I'm at, and it's a small list, and I plan to keep it small.
No, I think that's probably the smartest choice. Like, you see some people. What's that?
Ammunition. I left one out. So yeah, just this about 2 years ago, I had to find a new ammo to use. I started buying ammo from a little company that a lot of people used to know, the Stand One Armory, and they used to provide a lot of ammo to the shooting sports, and then they kind of disappeared for a while. And then somebody told me that they had been bought by two guys that were both involved in competitive shooting, and that was pretty intriguing to me. And because anytime you got competitive shooters and that are involved in making a product, that's always a good thing. So we ordered some of their ammo from the new owners, since it became under the new ownership, we were real happy with it, and we were using it and absolutely loving it. And then, like many times by sheer happenstance, I ended up in a conversation with one of the owners, and so now I am affiliated with Stand One and shooting their ammo. So.
No, that's awesome. All I wanted to say real quick is, the Marine Corps was my sponsor for 4.5, 5 years, and I'd say it was probably one of the best sponsorships I will have ever received in my life. But in my year-long period of being outside of the Marine Corps, I have done exactly what you have said in terms of, keep the list short. and represent companies you only want to represent, and don't make the mistake of representing other products just to have an extra product. Like, I don't feel like filling my garage with a bunch of stuff that I probably will never use. I want to fill my garage and my safe up with only products that I know and that I trust and that I've used in the past. And the companies themselves, all represent the shooting sports in some way, shape, or fashion, and they're all stand-up people.
Yeah. Well, look at it like this, and this is the way I said it not long ago. It was at the Vortex match. We were sitting around after dark outside of the camper, drinking bourbon and talking, and I was thinking about a really good way to represent it, and this is the best this popped into my head, and I realized, like, there's so much truth to this for me is, if I hit the lotto tomorrow and I could take the jersey off and not worry about any of that and buy whatever I wanted and use whatever product I wanted, the coolest thing in the world is I wouldn't change anything. And beyond that, I would still want to share the value of these companies that I'm working with people that are coming into the sport, because I know it actually helps them, because they're going to save time and money and energy and frustration not using inferior products, or not that there aren't multiple good options out there, but I know these are good because I'm using them. And I would still be excited to talk to somebody about this shotgun or this scope or this ammo, even if I had no incentive whatsoever to do so. And like, when that sinks in, that's a good feeling. I've made good decisions. I'm with the right companies. This is where I need to be. And man, that's what you want to shoot for. There's your goal, folks. If you want to get involved in sponsorship, there's your goal.
Yeah, very well said. But that's, at this point, we've talked about a lot of different subjects. We've talked about matches, family, sponsorships. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with, Dan, before we sign off?
Yeah, just an encouragement to, if you love this sport, if you enjoy doing it, if it means something to you, take the time to facilitate somebody else coming into the sport that might love it just as much, that might get as much out of it. It's not that hard, but it does take a little bit of effort and time. It may mean taking somebody to the range for a couple hours. It might mean, reminding or texting somebody times and dates of matches, and being there and taking a little time during your day at the match to walk them around and show them what's what, and coach them and mentor. But I encourage everybody that loves this sport, that's been in it a while, to try and do that one person a year. Mentoring, I think mentorship is really our best option for growing the sport, because it is a hard thing to just break into, and having somebody there to support you and help you out is what really helps people get into it. And you're going to find that time and effort you put into it comes back to you 100 times in reward and gratification that you're going to feel when you see that person loving the sport and bringing more to the sport that you love yourself. So I encourage everybody to take the time and effort to do that, to try and help somebody else, into this fantastic sport that we've got.
Yeah. Be the shooter that you wish you had like access to when you started shooting.
Yeah. That's what I think. Well, be like Mark. Thanks, Mark Selby. Yeah. If he hadn't drugged me to a match, lied to my face, told me I was just going to watch, waited till I showed up, started shoving guns in my hands, going, "Oh no, you're shooting. I already registered you. I already paid your $40. And I'm like, "No, I don't even know what I'm doing." He basically bullied me into it. He's like, "You don't want me to go back to the station and tell the guys that you wussed out?"
Man.
And no. Okay, I'll do it.
It's like the opposite of all your parenting and new shooter advice, right?
Literally,
It's like the exact opposite.
Yeah. Maybe it was the trauma from that caused me to take such a different approach with my kids. No, but Mark was a fantastic. He was a fantastic ambassador for the sport. He wasn't maybe the the typical guy you would expect to do that, but he would take time and he would answer a phone call. He would answer questions. He'd say, bring the rifle over to my house. I've got tools. We'll figure out what's going on with the gas, whatever the case may be. He would help out. Oh, I've got 2 extra boxes of ammo. You got plenty of ammo for the match. Here, shoot my ammo. And that example he set for me, was amazing. It helped me get into the sport. And I hope that I do a good job following that example and helping other people come in. And I hope more people do that.
Yeah. Well, we're thankful for him because brought you into the sport. And yeah, we were able to have you on, and we appreciate your time and talking to us. Yeah, a great conversation. To our listeners, let us know how we're doing. Please leave us a review on your preferred platform of listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah. Y'all have a good night.
You too.